spooky days. Halloween in New York City. I used to love Halloween, particularly in college. I was famous for having these big Halloween parties. Everybody loved them. Dress up in costumes. Everybody was pounding drinks, hooking up. Charlie Kirk was encouraging people not to fall for that hookup culture. I thought about that, I thought a lot about him more after he died. He spoke sensibly. I still can't understand, he was a thought leader among young people and everything, and $90 million organization. But still, aren't there a lot of people like that? People who, I guess maybe there was not somebody quite exactly like him. I don't know. I just can't get this idea out of my head that it seems really extraordinary that somebody who's not the president, not a senator, it's not like he was going to vote for the Patriot Act or something, or vote against it. I just don't get it. There's such an extraordinary amount. First of all, if of course we don't believe that Tyler Robinson did this murder, which I certainly don't and have not from the first day, that's just part of it. The conspiracy to kill him, particularly with this Army ISR jet. But even more now is what seems to me like a conspiracy surrounding the ongoing cover-up. Everybody who's been watching, for any amount of time knows that I'm very interested in social engineering. I never knew what it was. When I started doing Crowdsource the Truth 9 years ago, my purpose was to try to find a way to earn money. After I closed essentially ended my 3D production company, I needed a new job. And I figured, well, journalism is interesting, politics is confusing me, let me see what I can figure out. One of the first people who I sort of started interacting with was the dastardly George Webb, one of the spooks, or ghouls, whatever you want to call them, that I've got pictured in the thumbnail today. Let me adjust this for the wind. It was very crappy weather yesterday. Raining and crazy. City got flooded. I saw professional idiot Eric Adams had something posted today criticizing, voting for Curtis is a vote for Mandami. I was like, hey, stupid, you're still the mayor. And the whole city got flooded yesterday. Why don't you work on that? Anyway, I should have pictured another person in this gallery of spooks. Should have put Blake Bednar's there. He's a strange guy. Again, people say, oh, Jason, stop fighting with everybody. I put up a tweet last night. I did it in a bit of a hurry. I should have been more careful. Did I record it here? Oh, I might have forgotten to record it. And is this it? This might be it. Yeah, I put up this tweet. I was watching Candace Owens because somebody told me she was talking about this U.S. Army jet. Finally, what is it, a month and a half after we spoke about it. And also, the night before she had George Webb on there. So she's gone full George Webb, like Robert Downey Jr. in that movie where Ben Stiller got told not to go full retard. So I made a mistake. I wasn't going to do another video tonight, even though it's Halloween. But I wanted to clarify, I made a mistake on the time zone, or rather the daylight savings time here. And it's been a month and a half since I looked at all this information. But of course, the important part of this, in my view, is this U.S. Army jet. Candace is going on and on about the Egyptian jet. Look, I don't know what that's about. Maybe there's something to it. I'm not saying there isn't. But it certainly seems to me that if I had started talking about an Egyptian jet, people would have said, oh, you're covering for Israel. Israel killed Charlie Kirk. Does Israel now control Egypt? I think Egypt hates Israel, probably, no? Isn't Egypt controlled by the Muslim Brotherhood? Or wasn't that the allegation? I don't know. These are all areas of specialization, but my point is that Candace was avoiding the facts or outright getting them wrong. She was saying that the thing was flying over the Provo airport. That's not correct. It was flying over the campus, 2 miles away, 3 miles away from the campus, and she's been ignoring all of this evidence. I don't care about her talking to me. It's not me. I don't need to speak to her. I spoke to her once. She wasn't friendly, but she's clearly been avoiding everything that I've been bringing up while she's promoting Zeb Boykin. She's promoting Ryan Mata. She's promoting George Webb. It just seems weird to me. This is like inconsistencies in behavior. And by the way, she spent a good portion of her show there talking about, oh, Kash Patel, I demand you do this and that. It's a little bit obnoxious of her to think that the director of the FBI is going to respond or has some obligation to even acknowledge her demands. I'm not demanding that she do anything. It would be as ridiculous, it's probably more ridiculous for her to demand that the FBI do something based on what she says than it is for me to demand that she do something, but it's certainly equally ridiculous. It's ridiculous. FBI is under no obligation to do anything that she says. And by the way, what she's saying is, oh, if Kash Patel is interested in solving Charlie Kirk's murder, he should work with everybody. These people are trick-or-treating at the cleaners. Strange, right? I don't know, they have candy in the cleaners? She's demanding that Kash Patel should work with everybody. So shouldn't she live by that? Shouldn't she at least be consistent? Why? If she's watching Zeb Boykin, and we saw right there, we had Crowdsource the Truth viewers sending her $200 super chats the day after they sent her $100 super chats, and she's ignoring it. Now again, she's free to do whatever she wants. I'm not demanding. Get the fuck away from me. Get the fuck away from me. Fucking run up to me. See, all these people think that they can demand stuff. That's a good way to get punched in the face. Got a bunch of lunatics now following me. The point is, all these people who demand things, back the fuck up, fatso. This is the youth of today. This is a marauding gang of lunatics. Ridiculous. The point is, she's demanding everybody work together. It seems to me that Candace Owens might be what John Cullen would refer to. I'd say it's a questionable word to use. It's offensive in some contexts. But the question is Candace Owens something other than what she presents herself to be? Is she working for an intelligence agency or some private entity to conceal the truth? I don't know, but she did a good job of doing that yesterday, because I admit I made a mistake with the time. That's part of the reason why I wanted to do this video, to clarify that, to get out in front of that mistake right away. I alerted Candace that she made several mistakes in her videos. It's very important that that plane was circling over the lake, both before and after the assassination. The specific details of that, John Cullen and I went over quite a bit, and that's the primary reason I wanted to talk about it, because as I said, John Cullen used to freely say, oh, this person is a spook, that person is a spook. As I've been discussing lately, I've recently come to understand it's highly probable that John Cullen himself is some kind of contract intelligence operative. What he did to me was inexcusable in my book. Again, it's inconsistent behavior, right? On the one hand, he's telling me, oh, Jason is the greatest video analyst this side of Langley. We got to listen to what he's saying about the drones. And Cullen is very important in this whole, menagerie here. Because again, if he's a contract intelligence operative, that means he's a gig guy, right? He's hired for this gig or that gig. I always use the analogy of it's like being a Steadicam operator or something, you know? He might work on Spider-Man, but that doesn't mean he's employed by Sony. And I might hire him again for Metallica. Maybe we have a different Steadicam operator on another shoot. And these guys are competitive with one another. Sometimes they work together. You gotta watch out for idiots everywhere you go in New York City. But the point is, it seems that perhaps I became John Cullen's contract, because remember, it was a year ago, just about a year ago, that he and I had our initial falling out. And that was over him becoming intolerable in response to blowing up after the Butler assassination attempt. And as I look back at that, I have questions about it. I don't know that John did so much amazing work on that. You know, he discovered that bullet trajectory going down the back row, and that was good. But he really did a lot to counteract the photographic evidence that I found that shed a lot of doubt on whether that was Thomas Crooks there or not. For at least a year, he kept referring to the shooter on the roof as Crooks. Didn't attempt to negate any of the evidence that I raised, so it's unclear if he thought I was wrong. I don't see how he could think that. Sure seems like the police would have given us the photo from Detective Gianvito's phone if I was, but yet he was counteracting it. It's a very George Webb thing for him to do. And people might be saying, oh, Jason, why are you always bringing up George Webb? Again, I didn't know or care about these people until they started messing with me. And I'd be happy to never talk about or think about George Webb again, except that his brother keeps suing me and doing things that seem inconsistent with the types of things that a normal person would do. For instance, everybody out there, I don't know who you all are, I presume there's many normal people, you're not sitting around filing lawsuits and making daily filings, writing letters to the police and the Department of Homeland Security every day for 9 years about somebody that you don't know. I mean, stop and think about that. I've used this analogy many times. I think you could steal a guy's wife and he'd be over it after 9 years. I never met or did anything to George and his brother before they inserted themselves into my activities. And I've been done with them for long enough that you would think they'd be over it. So it causes me to think that there's some other motivation for what they're doing. Isn't this nice? I love autumn in New York. Halloween is a bit of a pain in the ass for the reasons that you just saw right there. Those stupid kids feel emboldened because they're in costume and they want to get on camera. They're so rude. So, back to Cullen. Because remember, he's the one who brought the whole ISR jet to my attention. I don't know why. I didn't really know anything about this ISR jet before he told me about it. Remember, I was talking about the drones. And the video that Cullen brought me had been made by Blake. Cullen claimed he didn't know that. That's coincidental, at least, because Blake was the guy who then went right on to Redacted. How did he get on to Redacted? I never heard of Blake before. Maybe Ryan Mata got him on there. I know Ryan had appeared on Redacted, and I presume he could call Clayton and suggest, hey, there's this great journalist who knows about drones. I know Clayton is interested in drones and UFOs and all that sort of stuff. I'm not accusing Redacted of any wrongdoing. They have a big platform, and Ryan seems to really want to promote Blake. Candace promotes Ryan. Candace promotes Zeb Boykin. She loves all the Jew-hating people who call me a Jew. And even though she says Kash Patel should work with everybody, Ryan doesn't want me to speak in an X space. not having anything to do with the information that I might bring, simply because of my Jewish heritage. That seems un-American and terrible to me, and also counterproductive to solving the murder. If Ryan were bleeding out on the side of the street and a Jewish doctor came to help him, would he say, no, get away from me, you're a Jew? It just seems disingenuous. It seems like something he's doing to socially engineer the public, to promote this kind of hatred and dissent in society that is the type of thing that's Alinsky's stuff, right? Polarized, personalized. They're trying to agitate two sides of an argument. I really don't want to fall into it. That stupid idiot Tyler did it as well with his X space, turning an X space about technical details related to an MPEG file into a bunch of anonymous idiots asking me questions about the USS Liberty, something I don't claim to have any particular personal knowledge about, not an expert in, but it's just an unrelated topic. So again, there's things that these social engineers do that are, I think, meant to upset people, divide people, and then we know there's individuals who come in, you create this division, Nazism versus Zionism, Israel versus Palestine, black versus white, whatever it is, create a little civil war where everybody kills each other, and then they come in at the end and they control everything. Are these people all part of that? Is that what Charlie Kirk's murder was about? Maybe, this is a playbook, just like that Archduke Ferdinand. You murder a guy, polarize the sides around him. What was Erica Kirk doing with the leather pants and all this seemingly inappropriate embracing of another married guy, the Vice President of the United States? Looked weird to me. But back on Cullen. So he comes to me with the video of the jet, and he says, we got to do a show. We had that whole falling out over him becoming impossible in Butler and doing a lot of things relating to our business relationship that just made it intolerable for me to continue with him. And again, along the lines of this consistent with normal behavior, if you've been friends with somebody or in a friendly business relationship with somebody for 7 years, and then that person just suddenly says, I'm going to discontinue our collaboration, don't you think most people would say, wait a minute, why? What happened? What are you upset about? Maybe I can apologize and we can, resolve this problem. I mean, maybe not. Maybe a lot of people wouldn't do that. I don't know. It seemed like a financially beneficial relationship to both of us, and I thought we were friends. But he didn't say anything. He just said, so long and thanks for all the fish kind of thing. Look at that. Is that a sunset or what? I found it strange. And then, I just chalked it up to, he's always saying he's got Asperger's or whatever, so it's a social thing. Okay, whatever. I've got people in my life who are like that, can never apologize for anything. Didn't matter to me, really. I just was moving on. I mean, it mattered, obviously. Created some amount of anguish and loss of income and stuff like that. But whatever. At this point in my life, I've dealt with many of life's disappointments. It wasn't the biggest deal in the world. But then flash forward to this Charlie Kirk murder. He calls me up when I found those drones in the Adam Bartholomew footage, which I've explained many times, the sort of organic way that came about. Charlie was killed. I immediately went to the internet to look for videos, found Adam Bartholomew, called Adam Bartholomew, looked at what was going on with his live stream being cut out. Incidentally, there's somebody on X who I don't know who's insistent that that's a lie, that Adam's live stream did not cut out, that he recorded the whole thing. Well, it's not a lie. Maybe that person is confused and they saw his 1 and 9 minute video and didn't understand the whole complicated deal. Mark Jones says it sounds a bit racist. I mean, it's certainly bigotry. I don't know if racism is the right word, but it's certainly bigotry to just say this person can't talk in our X space because they're Jewish. Like it was whether it was a real thing from him or something put on to upset people, it was a disgusting bit of behavior that, as I said, it's certainly un-American. And it goes against what Candace is saying to Kash Patel. She wants him to work with everybody. Well, shouldn't she live by that? Why isn't she contacting me? I mean, we know she knows Ian Carroll. Ian, who I also don't trust, he's mentioned me and what I've been researching many, many times. So I'm saying these people are inauthentic in my view. And I say that not because of whatever religion or race they are, it's because of the way they behave. It seems inauthentic, doesn't it? It is a beautiful sunset tonight. I'm telling you, autumn in New York, it's just fantastic. Look at the buildings over here. It's great. But it's this jet. Again, I don't really know. By the way, we haven't proven even that the drones came from it. It's just very suspicious that it slows down. Candace didn't go into any of those details. It's unfortunate that I was so on tilt from her whole idiotic broadcast that I made that mistake with the time, because I'm sure we had it right when we reported it a month and a half ago. I didn't go back to the original reporting, and I just put that tweet together rather quickly, kind of late at night, and I made that mistake, which admittedly was a stupid mistake. But the point is, it doesn't change the fact that she was going full George Webb. And what I mean by that is, remember when, if you've been watching for a long, long time, Laurel Everly gave me the photographs from the basement of her house, and we found a coax cable internet router that led to the shed that she didn't know about until I pointed it out to her. And she started to put together that Imran Awan got super upset when the basement flooded and that he had this thing in the shed with the air conditioner. And then immediately George went to, what was the house? 3809, something like that, Sprayer Street. He went to the house at Sprayer Street to show everybody the shed, but he showed the wrong shed. Why did he do that? That's like the time when he went to show everybody the wrong water tower. Again, it's just putting a lot of attention on the wrong thing. So Blake Bednarz does a video about the jet. How does he know about the jet? Blake Bednarz has repeatedly said, oh, he doesn't even want to be a journalist. He's just a guy running an insurance company, which, by the way, I think it's probably his family running the insurance company. He seems kind of like a dunce. It's not really his insurance company. I think his dad or his brothers or uncles or somebody like that started it. He says he doesn't want to be a journalist, but yet he's got all this money. He's now got a $5,000 reward for evidence. By the way, he's got a huge appetite for lawsuits, this guy. I saw earlier today he's now outright accusing a person. I don't know this person. Blake has accused him of murder. He's saying this is the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, and he's offering people $5,000 to present him with the original video. This is the video of the van door opening. This is just in this archive.org. Is this the one where, yeah, I don't want to show Charlie getting killed. So the van door opens, there's somebody standing behind Frank Turek, and then, you know, Blake is now offering $5,000 for that original video. By the way, God bless him, he's got a ton of money, but if he's not interested in being a journalist, it seems like he's putting a lot of attention and money on getting that video. You'd think he would be, if he was actually running an insurance company, you think he'd be preoccupied with that. And by the way, Jason, why are you talking about Blake? I don't care about Blake, except that he first came to my attention a month and a half ago, just days after this Charlie Kirk murder occurred. Wow, it's super windy. Because Blake got all up into everything I was doing. He contacted Adam Bartholomew after I did. Bartholomew told me that. And then Blake said Bartholomew was lying, but I don't think that's correct because I have a lot of evidence that Blake has lied about a bunch of stuff and zero evidence that Adam Bartholomew has ever lied to me about anything. And what would Adam Bartholomew's motive be to lie about something that Blake said? I don't think Adam is lying. I think Blake is lying because remember, Blake told Natalie and Clayton on Redacted that he used AI to identify dots that he said were drones. Not a single one of those were drones, except for the ones that I found. And since then, I've found another video that seems to corroborate the probability of drones being there. Now, remember, it also goes back to Adam Bartholomew because if I'm correct about those drones, they would have been there to prevent people from making unauthorized recordings. Now, a question that's come up is, why didn't they shut down everybody's phone? It's a good question, but maybe not every phone was a threat to what was going on. Now, today earlier, I had a video with Matthew Bowden. I really like Matthew. He's doing great research. I love how clinical he is about it and how careful he is to not, you know, he doesn't want to jump to a conclusion. It's good. It lends even more credibility to what he's doing. But what he said is that he's got research that's sort of narrowing down the locations that the shot could have come from. And one of the locations looks to me like it's a location that Adam Bartholomew's camera was pointing at. So we don't really know the degree of accuracy this high accuracy detection and exploitation system has. By the way, that's another essential error by omission that Candace's report made yesterday. The time, I'm not going to say it isn't important because that was a bad mistake that I made, but I corrected it right away. The real importance is the avoiding the meat of the story, which is what was the U.S. Army high accuracy detection and exploitation system doing there? It's a good question. What's the Egyptian jet doing there? But that also came from Cullen. So what's with this nexus of information between Blake, Candace, Cullen, and now Cullen has disappeared? People are still texting and, you know, DMing and emailing me like, where's Cullen? Where's Cullen? I don't know. You know, I don't keep track of him. I'm not even planning to talk to him ever again. He really behaved in a way that he's destroyed our relationship, basically. Because he was pretty close to having done that the first time, and when he contacted me to do these videos about the jet, I figured, hey, why be pig-headed? Not going to force the guy to apologize for what he did last time. He's contacting me, and there was a business motive as well. I need money. Thanks to everybody who supports Crowdsource the Truth on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, on subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and by following me on X at JG_CSTT and subscribing there. But obviously he wanted to do sponsor exclusive shows, and I figured, you know, there's a high likelihood that people will sign up to watch those. I need money. Rather than argue with someone who's approaching me with an opportunity, let me be reasonable. And the thing that was interesting is John made it clear that he knew what he did specifically that upset me. Look, to put some detail on it so that everybody knows, he was being very diva-like. And there were several times when we would do our sponsor exclusive shows that he would not, whether it was my mistake or his, the free introduction would not go out on his much larger platform. That was really the benefit to me, because I've spent years being beaten down by George's mentally ill paperclip Nazi brother, losing the big social media channels that I've spent so much time and energy and money building. This is my business. This is literally like them rolling up on my restaurant throwing a firebomb in there and burning the place down, and I keep having to open new restaurants in smaller and less expensive locations because I've lost all my revenue and resources from the first one being destroyed. So part of the reason I've created these co-host situations was so that when I was big on the platform and strong, I could elevate up smaller, newer people with the thought that when they were big and strong, they could help me if I was ever weak. And John wasn't doing that. He was consistently not putting the videos out on his large YouTube and Twitter channels, and I became very annoyed after a certain point. We never discussed that, because I had it in my mind that either he just doesn't see this and doesn't care, I'll just go on without him. If he had contacted me and said, hey, I'm sorry, we have a productive relationship, what can we do to fix it? We could have discussed that and we could have fixed it. But the fact that he contacted me almost a year later and said, I'll make sure I send you the stream keys for YouTube and Twitter, he knew what he was doing that bothered me and he didn't care. So look, I'm not saying that proves that he's a spook, as he would say, but it certainly is contradictory to being my friend or a business associate who's in a mutually beneficial relationship. It's strange to me. And it's consistent with things that other people have done in the past, like Kevin Shipp, for instance, who did appear on sponsor exclusive shows with me, but then he would go on big shows with millions of subscribers, and I would say, Kevin, mention, even if he just mentioned his half of the show, that would help because it would get more people watching the show. He never would do it. And I think part of the way these social engineers operate is, they want to keep tabs on me. They want to embed themselves with me and learn a lot about me so that they can do things like publish things that look like threats to Robert Barnes and then include my photo and videos with my brand to get me in trouble. And you really need to know a lot about me and gather a lot of intelligence about me to be able to do that. But they don't want to really do anything that would help me grow my business and make me stronger. The goal really is to ultimately strike the business down and destroy it. And what John was doing at that moment, 3 weeks ago or whatever it was really handing George's brother on a silver platter an opportunity to get me taken off of Twitter, off of X, which has become my biggest platform. And so that's what they're trying to destroy now. They don't want me to have reach. They don't want me to have viewers. They don't want me to have sponsors. They don't want people to follow me on X at JG_CSTT and subscribe there. They don't want people to go to subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. They want me to go away. So it takes me back to Candace, because she was also saying this last night. She was saying, who was she talking about? Somebody bigger than her, saying that like, why is this person, blowing up or whatever. Same thing could be said about Candace. I mean, do we really think if Israel controlled everything, or if the FBI, whoever that she's saying doesn't want her revealing whatever, why isn't she getting sued all the time? I mean, I guess she's getting sued by Macron, but didn't she sort of bring that on by saying that the wife was a dude? Oh, wait a minute, I usually get dinged by some radio stuff over there. I want to make sure that doesn't happen. Point is, why does George Webb's brother choose to sue me 20-something times over 9 years and not give up and continue to do it and file forged documents in court and do all kinds of things that would put normal people in jail, and nothing happens? It's weird. So where did Cullen go? I noticed that Ryan Mata, they have this network, right? Ryan Mata teases that, Candace is going to have some explosive information about the jet. Ryan Mata also tells people to go follow Blake. So they build these people up. Blake went from a virtually unknown account, 3,000, 5,000 followers, something like that. There's up to 30,000 followers there. See, and this is what I had been trying to do with Cullen all along. He was boosting the drone information. See, this is the part that's hard to wrap my head around. They seem to go to, my presumption here is that they don't like it that the drones were there. So they want to get all over it and then I think make it somehow look ridiculous. That was the Blake part, right? Say that every dot in the sky was a drone and then have somebody come along and say, no, they aren't drones. Or that's another reason why I'm really upset that I made that mistake, because they want to get as much incorrect information around the dangerous facts as possible. And I guess it's this Pied Piper strategy. They get everybody all built up around Candace and everything that she's talking about to then crash that down with ridiculousness later. Like, why would Candace be talking about George Webb? He's an obvious idiot. Look, she's free to do whatever she wants. I'm just, again, I'm interested in this inconsistent behavior. Telling Kash Patel he should speak to everyone, but then avoiding $200 super chats, telling her to speak to me. I don't even care about speaking to her. It's just, I see other social engineers. There's this guy, Coach, I forget his name. I don't know what he's the coach of, but he's another one who's very big on YouTube. I mean, he's the dumbest guy I could imagine. I don't see what he's doing other than sitting there with headphones on. And now he's coming in and trying to build an X presence. So he's like gnawing at what I'm saying with stupidity, claiming that I'm pushing the official narrative. That's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Then we had this other guy who was on with the Constitution Project, which I call the Constipation Project. Another fool. I mean, I have nothing against the guy personally. I didn't know who he was. I still don't know who he is. I just see almost everything he's posting is totally incorrect. So how do these stupid nonsense accounts get so big, and then I'm publishing evidence, original videos and things, and then I'm getting sensitive content bans? It just seems strange that all these things happen to me and all these other people doesn't happen, you know? When Cullen's account got huge after Butler, it was basically pretty closely linked to him discovering that shot down the back rail and having a tweet that went to 2.5 million, 2.7 million, and then bing, sensitive. So people mass reporting on to me that I do. Where is Cullen? You would think he'd be all over Candace for not talking about this ISR jet. She mentioned that it dipped down, dropped altitude, but she said it was flying over the Provo airport. That's totally wrong. She didn't mention that it was part of the high accuracy detection and exploitation system. She didn't mention that Adam Bartholomew was highly accurately detected and exploited. She has been wrong about a lot. Southern Girl had her fill of Candace long before the Charlie murder. Well, look, I'm not trying to say anything about her personally. I'm just saying her behavior as a social media personality, is she for real or is she a social engineer? And again, it comes back to the central question of why is there all this activity around Charlie Kirk? It seems, even for someone, obviously he was a well-known guy, but it just seems like a very outsized amount of activity. Here's a random dog and no person. I just don't understand it. Right, so back to my question of where is Cullen? I don't know where he is. And right, so Ryan was teasing that Candace is going to drop this bombshell about the Egyptian jet. Well, why is the Egyptian jet more important than the U.S. Army jet? Is the Egyptian jet part of a known U.S. Army program to detect and electronically exploit communications that we know the U.S. Army wants to launch drones from, that we see drones flying around, that all these people hovering around, Candace and Ryan and those other people, have been talking about drones the whole time? It just seems all very interrelated. Cullen gives me the video from Blake. Blake is doing videos about non-drones being drones. Blake is doing all kinds of cash prizes for evidence. I think he's trying to counteract my evidence bounty because this has been so effective in turning up actual, real, good evidence. There's still 4 days for people to go to crowdsourcethetruth.org and either increase this bounty to incentivize people to come forward with a counter thesis that might disprove my thesis. So far, nobody has done that. Nobody has explained what it is that they think I don't understand about Dolby Vision or how we got those images of what looked like projectiles to me. That's another area where Cullen was behaving very strangely. On the one hand, he's saying, oh yeah, Jason is so great at video analysis. But at the same time, he's wanting to ignore my analysis that says these are projectiles. That doesn't make any, not ignore it, counteract it, publicly counteract it, while still pretending to be an ally. It's a little bit like publicly starting a fight with lawyers, publishing statements that easily could be construed in court, or at least styled as true threats. And the thing that I objected to is that he's doing it with a pseudonym, where he has no legal liability and I have all the legal liability. He knows that. Why did he do that? It seems calculated to destroy me at a moment where I'm clawing back from the near dead. You know, when these big social media channels get destroyed, I lose my livelihood. It's hard for me to pay for things. I make a lot less money than I once did. I'm not complaining. Thank you to everybody who sponsors the show. I appreciate it. And thanks to everybody who went to crowdsourcethetruth.org and boosted the bounty. If no one provides a counter thesis to disprove my thesis on November 4th, that money will sponsor Crowdsource the Truth. The people who have been putting the money there do it because they agree with me that I've presented the strongest theory. Now, people have also been telling me he's not related to any of this. I have no reason to believe Range Day Bro is anything other than a range bro who likes the range days. He did some kind of ballistic test. I saw bits of it with a ballistic mannequin shooting it from behind. He has some other version of a shot from behind theory that I'm not 100% up to speed on. I saw some video that he made where he seemed to be laughing at my theory. So, I don't know, he agrees with elements of it, he disagrees with elements of it, that's fine. People don't have to agree with everything that I say. The issue I have with Blake is that he appears to be doing deliberate things to deceive people and counteract anything I say. He didn't find out in Bartholomew in the way that I did. He reacted to what I did, almost like, so, oh, the other thing I meant to say about Blake is that I didn't know who he was until somebody sent me one of his tweets talking about what he said was a drone flying out of a vent. And I saw that he had tagged George Webb, or maybe it was Blake, tagged me. I saw Blake had a tweet where Blake had tagged George Webb, and then when I went to try to interact with it, he deleted it. And I said, that's strange. Why would Blake delete this tweet to George Webb? And I became very suspicious of him because obviously I thought he was somehow interacting with George Webb. And there's no end to these idiots, George Webb and his brother and related idiots trying to mess with me. I don't understand why they won't just go away. But, you know, George's brother is back to filing things in court that I believe he intends to use to bring some kind of legal action involving Twitter, X, to get them to throw me off, because that's what they're dedicated to. So again, I'm just asking, why am I the focus of all this attention? Do we really think it's because George and or his brother have such a personal problem with me that they have nothing to do with their lives for the last 9 years, but dedicate almost all of their time, maybe not George, but certainly his brother, to suing me and getting me kicked off of these various platforms? It just makes no sense. And I mean, there's a lot of evidence that they seem to be protected by the FBI. I put out a bunch of tweets the other day about how George lied to that girl Louisa, told her he got into independent journalism because of Dmitry Alperovich and the DNC. That's not what he told me when I met him years ago. He told me it was because of the Portland Christmas tree bomber, which years later I learned was a case directly related to Valerie Caproni when she was the FBI general counsel, which is weird because she was the judge in the first case that George's brother brought against me, and the Critical Blow case where the Emmys sued me. And she is an evil, corrupt bitch. Very few people deserve to be in jail as much as Valerie Caproni. She's old now. She's basically almost retired. She's got senior status as a U.S. District Court judge here in the Southern District of New York. But I think she was very involved in protecting this forgery in the Eastern District of Michigan. I went to Michigan to go to a hearing on that, and the hearing was canceled. It's all very unusual activity. When I speak to lawyers about the stuff that's happened, they don't believe me. They say, oh, you must have it wrong. Then I send them the briefs, and they say they can't believe it. They've never seen anything like it. So what is all that? And why is it all happening to me, and none of it happening to Candace, who's making these, not that I wanted to, but she's making all these demands of the FBI. I think she's working with or for the FBI. That's my opinion. It's very strange. Difficult to understand how these things work. What do people watching think? I'm curious. It's good that I've got the failover system back working well, testing it out. No, I appreciate that, Mark. You don't need to apologize. I don't want to put anybody out. I mean, that's just it. I've worked really hard to keep the subscriptions to the show inexpensive because I don't want big, large sponsors. I'm not doing ad reads like Candace telling people to buy gold or supplements or whatever she wants you to buy. I would love to put it back down to $2 and have thousands and thousands of subscribers. Problem is I don't have that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Mark. It's another thing that's weird to me about Cullen. See, if I take a day off or two, I become concerned that, I'm not consistently driving these algorithms that draw new people to the social media channels and get me more sponsors that I need to make this a viable business. Cullen goes away for 3 weeks and nothing happens. I say one bad thing about Candace Owens, I lose 200 X subscribers. I don't mind, actually, by the way. People who can't hear facts about someone that they like are free to leave. I'm just saying I don't understand how Cullen just drops all this for 3 weeks. He spent a lot of time telling me about how he needed money and look, I just don't get it. I'm trying to figure this all out. So the way he's behaved causes me to believe there's something else going on. Something that he wouldn't tell me. And he's another guy operating under a fake name. Charles didn't like that. He always told me he doesn't trust people operating under fake names. I don't operate under a fake name. Charles doesn't operate under a fake name. It's very strange. And Cullen always would say when I would mention that to him, because things would come up where he couldn't do certain things that he wanted to do that needed credit cards or to go somewhere to testify before Congress. And he said, oh, I don't want to use my real name. Look at you, you've been sued a million times. So again, just like he knew what it was that he did that pissed me off, that got me to cancel the show and didn't do anything to rectify it, he knew that getting sued was a problem, but yet he was reckless, publishing things that could easily be construed as threats, giving me all the liability. Why did he do that? It's inconsistent behavior. Is this outdoor dining, or maybe it's just Halloween at the Thai restaurant? Anyway, that's what I wanted to tell everybody. I don't understand why Candace has avoided talking about the high accuracy detection and exploitation system, the drones that seem to be exploiting Adam Bartholomew and shutting down his video. This U.S. Army ISR jet, she's making a big deal about the Egypt jet, telling us wrong information in a very George Webb sort of way, saying that the Army jet was flying around the Provo airport when it was clearly flying around the lake 3 miles away from where Charlie Kirk was killed. And she's telling Kash Patel that if he's really interested in solving the murder, he should be working with everybody, while she simultaneously is promoting every bigoted jackass social engineer who doesn't want to talk to me because I'm a Jew, and she herself is avoiding $300 worth of super chat rather than talking to me. So anyway, that's all I have to say about all that. Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope you'll sponsor the show on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Didn't really see as many costumed lunatics as I thought we might, but here are some. People can also sponsor on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. You still have time to go to crowdsourcethetruth.org and boost the evidence bounty if that's what you'd like to do. You can also try to claim the bounty if you have better evidence, a better counter thesis. Don't forget to follow me on X at JG_CSTT. You can also subscribe